Today we're going to do yoga for a healthy back. So this is to prevent injury, and if you already have a sore back, this is going to help minimize discomfort. So we'll start standing just for a little warm-up. So posture in our mountain pose, and ideally we carry that same sense of length off of the yoga mat and can think about posture as often as possible throughout the day, because really good posture is also going to help minimize back discomfort and prevent back discomfort. So we imagine there's a string attached to the top of our head pulling us up. Our shoulders are back and down, our palms are forward. Think about pulling the bottom corner of your shoulder blade down towards your back pockets. Both shoulder blades are back and down. So we have a little bit of a bend, just a tiny micro bend in our knees. Our feet are grounded and hip width apart. So engaging the abdominal muscles, really helpful for the back. So throughout the session today, we're going to think about pulling the belly in a little bit all the time. So we're never going to fully disengage 0 out of 10 as if we're sleeping. We're awake, we're going to pull the belly in, we're going to find length in our spine. Now, we don't have to pull it in as forcefully as we can, like we're trying to show off our muscles or anything. Just tiny engagement, belly button pulling straight back. Now, if we're familiar with the pelvic floor muscles and we can engage them with a lift up as well, that's also encouraged. It takes practice and time to be able to coordinate the pelvic floor lift and the abdominal contraction at the same time. But that will happen over time. So right now, belly just pulling in. Best posture we can have. Long, slow breaths in and out through the nose. We're just going to move a little bit so we can get a little warm up. Let's bring our hands to our heart and sink into our chair pose. Our belly's pulled in, bottom is pushing back, and we're going to take a little less of a bend and then a little more of a bend. So we'll inhale up, exhale, sink down. So careful we don't have a tip of our tailbone. We're in that neutral pelvis, keeping as much consistency of a stacked vertebrae. So if we tip our tailbone, those vertebrae are going to squish together. We don't want that. That's not going to be comfortable. So neutral pelvis. Again, inhaling up and exhale, sink down. And let's inhale our arms overhead. We're going to swan dive. So we hinge at the hips and bend at the knees and come down to the floor. So we're going to come all the way down onto hands and knees. The crease of our wrist is under our shoulder. Our fingers are actively spread. The knees are under our hips. So have we crunched up our shoulders and lost that good posture? Can we reconnect with the abdominal muscles pulling in? That length from the crown of the head to the tailbone, that neutral pelvis, just like when we were standing in our mountain. So careful the tailbone doesn't tip up, or we don't lose control of the belly. Everything engaged, just like when we were standing. So we're going to actively pull the belly a little bit more firmly away from the ground with the next few exhales. So if we were pulling it in 3 out of 10 standing, let's see if we can get it to 6 out of 10. We're working against gravity. Makes it a little bit harder than when we were standing. One more time, pull the belly in as firmly as we can on that exhale. We're going to sink back into our child's pose, and this is our rest place whenever we need a break for our wrists, because we are going to do a few things on hands and knees. We want to make sure our wrists are happy. So to give our wrists a break, we can interlace the fingers, make figure eights. We can also massage the base of the hands if there's any discomfort there. And we can reach our hands behind us, palms up, lifting the palms toward the sky, or the fingertips toward the sky. So when our wrists are ready for it again, we can come back to all fours. Check that our shoulders are back and down and our belly muscles are engaged. Sometimes turning the front of the elbow forward can help us engage that shoulder blade. So sometimes we can be soft here and engaged here. So that's one kind of thing to think about that might be a helpful cue. So from all fours, we're going to start by extending just our right leg behind us. So toes are reaching down, and we're careful not to lift our hip. We're going to keep things squared off, the belly stays grounded, and the toes pull toward the shin. And we can slowly return that knee to the ground. We'll take the same thing to the other side, extending the leg. And slowly we'll come back to all fours. If there's any discomfort in the knees from being on them, we can add some extra cushion. So we could use a blanket here, or we could just take a fold in the yoga mat just for some extra cushion. If you're still not happy on all fours, you can just skip this part, and we'll do some more back exercises not on hands and knees in a minute. So now from hands and knees, we're going to extend just the right arm. So imagine our arm is kind of moving through mud. So first we're going to shift our weight to our left hand and slowly raise the right hand away from the ground. Thumbs pointing up. Feel all those muscles around the left shoulder blade activated to keep us steady. We can slowly return that hand to the floor. We'll take the same thing to the other side. So first shifting weight into the right hand. Slowly extending the left arm, the thumb pointing up. Can we pull the belly in? Can we feel the breath flow? Can we feel the muscles around that right shoulder blade actively engaged to keep us steady? All fours again. And always remembering to listen to the body and take a break when we need it. Work out any tension in the wrists before we come back to all fours to move into our spinal balance. So when you're ready, back on all fours, shoulders back and down, belly's engaged, and we're slowly going to extend the right hand or right arm and left leg at the same time. So the toes go down, the thumb goes up, the belly's engaged. Now if we need to keep a toe down for balance or a pinky down, that is a good option. We can decide whether we bring pinky and toes away from the floor. So we're aiming to keep that rectangle between the shoulders and the hips nice and steady, and keeping our breath flowing. So thinking about drawing the belly in, again to keep the back safe. If it doesn't feel good to have the full arm extended, we can take some pressure off the back by bending the elbow or bending the knee or both. When we're ready, we can come back to all fours, and if it feels okay, we can extend arm and leg, remembering we could bend if that feels better on the back. Pulling the belly in, finding length in the spine and stillness between the shoulders and hips, and breath flowing. And we'll slowly come back to all fours. Now we're going to transition now off of our hands and knees and onto our backs on the floor. So the remainder of the focus will be on our backs. So we don't have to be on knees again. We're going to grasp behind one thigh and rolling down to the ground, drawing the belly in. And we'll bring our feet to the floor with our knees bent. And just some nice gentle movement in the pelvis. So we're going to draw our belly in and press our low back into the ground. And we'll come back to that neutral position. So hands are just resting here so you can see how the pelvis tips. On that exhale, we pull the belly in. Now the pubic bone sits a little higher than the pelvis, or than those bones that are at the front. We'll come back to neutral and into that posterior tilt again on the exhale, drawing the belly in. A couple more times. Exhale, tipping back. Inhale back to neutral, and one more. Now just notice where you felt the muscles engage there. We were focusing on drawing the belly in. Did we squeeze at the bottom? So we're going to try that again. This next time we're really going to focus on squeezing the bottom, but we're going to do the same movement. So on our exhale, we're going to press the low back in, but imagine we're pressing the feet into the ground and engaging the glutes at the bottom, and that's what's forcing our pelvis to tilt. So we'll inhale back to neutral, exhale, press the feet into the ground, engage the glutes, press the low back into the mat, and release. One more time with that as our emphasis. And release. Now we'll go back again. That's a big tummy growl. We'll go back again. So pulling the belly in on the exhale. And that is what tips our pelvis. Our feet are just gently touching the mat. They're not really pushing down. We'll inhale back to neutral. Again, exhale, pull the belly in. Press the low back into the ground. Inhale back to neutral. One more time, pull the belly in, press the low back. Excellent. So now we have two ways to move into our pelvic tilt, one by engaging the abdominal muscles and one by engaging the glutes. Now we're going to move into our bridge. So we press our feet into the ground. We keep that neutral pelvis. We check first, before we lift, that shoulders are in line with the ears, and the hips, and the knees, and the ankles. So we haven't walked our feet out, or they're not too close. We have everything in alignment, and our shoulders are actively down away from our ears. So now we're ready to move into that bridge. Pelvis is stable. And we'll lift. Thigh bones stay parallel to one another. Our nose stays at our midline. We haven't rolled in or out with our feet, but the weight is evenly distributed. We just feel the breath flowing here. We could close the eyes for a moment if we'd like. And we'll return to the floor. We're going to do a few stretches. Also really helpful for the back. We're going to bend the right knee, grasping behind the thigh, in toward the chest. We'll extend the left leg away from us. Let's just give some attention to our ankles. So we'll roll the toes clockwise and counterclockwise. And feel that long, slow breath in and out. And we'll transition to the other side, bringing the left knee toward the chest, extending the right. Again, circling the toes, clockwise and counterclockwise. We'll do that one more time. So we're going to bring right knee to the chest. Let's bring left foot to the floor, because we're going to extend the leg this time, pulling toes toward the shin. On that exhale, we're going to gently bring the leg back to us. Now, if we're still on the cool side, we don't want to really force a stretch here. It's very gentle. If we're nice and warmed up, then we can bring that leg in for a more intense stretch, but we're always listening to our body. We're not forcing a stretch, but we're just feeling length through the back of the leg, pulling toes to the shins, finding length in the spine. So perhaps even giving a little chin tuck, like we're giving ourselves a double chin here, so we feel length in the cervical spine as well. So sometimes tight hamstrings can create back pain, so we're just doing a hamstring stretch. We want to hold for at least 10, it could be 30 seconds, so perhaps just counting the breaths. Maybe 3 to 5 long, slow breaths. When we're ready, we can take the same thing to the other side. So we'll bring left knee to the chest and reach that left heel for the sky. And on the exhale, we can bring that leg a little closer, finding length again in the spine with a little chin tuck. And 3 to 5 long, slow breaths. And let's bring both knees to our chest now. Again, grasping behind the thighs. And we're going to take tiny little circles with the knees, massaging our low back into the ground. And we'll take that same circle in the other direction. And we'll bend our knees and roll to our side. Just support ourselves and support our head with a bent elbow. So we're resting here and breathing for a few moments in our sleeping baby. So in bed, side lying is one of the most comfortable positions for the back. Ideally, we want to have a little bit of support under the cervical spine, so not a real big pillow that pushes us up, but a pillow that can keep us in that same alignment. And we want to look at the lower body. Can we get a pillow that goes lengthwise between our knees and ankles to support us so that we're aligned just like when we were in mountain? That can minimize discomfort in the low back as the top leg is kind of pulling on the hip if our knees are directly next to each other. So I just want to show what that looks like. Just a little bit of support of the cervical spine at my head. The pillow is lengthwise between the knees and ankles. This is an excellent position to support your back for sleeping. When we're getting out of bed, we want to use our top arm to push ourselves up. Drop our feet off the edge of the bed. And that's it. Yoga for your healthy back. Inhale, arms up, and exhale, hands to our heart. Have a great day and a great sleep.